Hey, we're on the air here. Good afternoon. It's 11/9/20 with John Ross, the XPian Daily Report. And on my to my right here, I have a special guest today, and that's Juan Thomas. Juan's Auroran, but he's got hats in many areas. We're going to talk. He's got a hat in Georgia. He's got a hat in politics. He's done a lot of little politics, and he's got a hat in law also. He's a lawyer, and he's the former president of the National Bar Association. So I've known Juan several years here, and I'm just happy that he could come by and we'll give a little talk and perspective on the 2020 election. And so, Juan, I thank you for joining me again. I just appreciate this. I appreciate this, brother. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me, my friend. It's good to see you again. And
yes.
I miss seeing you in person on Tuesdays.
Yes, yeah. I think we briefly thought, well, why don't we just discuss the local elections here in Kane County? I would say the Democrats did pretty well in Kane County overall. What would you say?
Well, it's clear to me that Kane County has been trending blue
Yes.
for the last couple of cycles. I want to congratulate the fact that my friend Corinne Pirogue is going to be the new county board chairman. I'm honored to support her. And I've known Teresa Biero for many years. Her and her husband Dan are very active in our community and fellow Kawanian. So we congratulate her on being our circuit clerk. And of course, as a lawyer, I care very much about how we operate and administrate these. And then, of course, we have a new state's attorney, and Jamie Mosser, first Democrat to serve there. So excited for her. And then Penny Wegman also was elected as our new county auditor. She's the daughter of Sandy Wegman, who's our recorder of deeds. And so it's nice that we have Democrats up and down the county that are being elected countywide. And by the numbers, Joe Biden won Kane County by several, thousands of votes. But I do have two cautionary concerns that I would like the listening audience. One is the fact that while Joe Biden won Kane County, he did receive more votes here than Hillary Clinton did in 2016.
Oh, really? Okay.
Donald Trump got more votes out of Kane County this time than he did in 2016.
It was just an upturn of everybody being out there too, right?
Yeah. So he got just under 100,000 votes, like I think 96,000 votes. I know they're still coming in through November 17th, but that's concerning, and just how that populates and trends. The concern I'd like to raise, and I'm saying this particularly in the context of the racial reawakening, if you will, in America that we're going through this year, hopefully beyond. There were two African-American Democratic candidates that were also running with Corinne, with Jamie, with Teresa, with Penny. Both of those African-American female candidates lost. One was running for recorder of deeds. The other was running for circuit clerk judge. And so if you look at the actual numbers, both Brenda Rogers and attorney Brittany Pedersen received between 6,000 to 7,000 votes less than Teresa, Jamie, and Corinne. And Penny. I think Penny might have been the top vote getter. And I think that's concerning. So while Kane County is trending blue and may be blue, I suspect it's still a little light blue.
Yeah.
And I think there's some questions that I have to my party, the Democratic Party in Kane County, and to the overall Democratic Party broadly in our state and our country, and to the voters of Kane County, is its commitment to supporting candidates of color when they have the choice to do so. And so I'm very happy for those who won on last Tuesday, but I'm disappointed that two strong African-American female candidates running on the same ticket received about 7,000 votes less. And I think that's a conversation that we should have within the Kane County Democratic Party, but also within the broader community.
Well, maybe some of that has to do with money and outreach, because those other candidates, maybe I knew a couple of them, so that's true. But I don't know. But you're right there, and also this reflects somewhat with the U.S. representative race. That there was Biden received more votes, I'm sure, in all these. I know he did. Biden won every Collar County except he actually won Kendall also. Kendall, DeKalb, Will, but he didn't in Lake, but he didn't win the Kenry. He did win DePage too. So actually, the whole area is turning blue, really, except McHenry.
But it's turning blue. But it seems as though race still matters.
Well, I understand that. I think we should address that too. Well, here's another thing. Maybe it wasn't all race in a way. One, maybe it's just that everybody wanted to kick out Trump, and the rest was close. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a lot of anti-Trump vote out here, not necessarily pro-democratic vote. Because that was reflected. Maybe it could be race too, also in the
Democrats won
in the Underwood race too.
Yeah. So historically, as we all know, the 14th district has been a very difficult.
It's very Republican in the past,
right, for a Democrat. So it was a triumphant feat for her to win in 2018.
It was.
She could not have picked a more polarizing opponent this cycle. Jim Oberweis, who I've known for many years, is let's just say he's not beloved even within his own party.
I know that, but he had money. He got some money together. That's what did it at the end, I think.
Huh? He has very good ice cream. I recommend his ice cream.
Okay, you like his ice cream. It's all right, but he had some money and he threw it in right at the end.
Yeah,
which
I read today that Lauren Underwood is ahead now, but
no, she's ahead by what I'm seeing. I've seen different reports. I think she's 1,100 ahead, but maybe even more. And there's only like 1% to count, which means that's 4,000 votes, maybe, because it's pretty high turnout. It's almost 400,000 in the district. It's on the high end of congressional district voting. So it's almost 400,000. Yeah. What one?
Still out to be counted?
Yeah. Anyway, she pulled ahead, and I would think the other votes might go with her too. I'm not sure. It's Trump. I wonder if this is. Have you heard this about the military? Did Trump lose the military votes?
I heard throughout the country they were a lot closer than historically than history would dictate. So yes, I'm told through my sources that Biden did much better among military officers than.
It could have helped out Underwood here too if some military votes come in. I don't know. They might not be all Oberweis.
And I can just tell you this: if you're running for public office, you might not want to call a group of people losers.
Right. No, and he shouldn't call John McCain a. I think you use that term almost with McCain. I forgot how you phrased that, but McCain's wife went. I think Arizona. You could almost attribute to Trump's talk too.
I will say. Let me just say one more thing about the Underwood race. What's going to be very interesting about the Lauren Underwood race, particularly if she retains her seat, how the Illinois legislature will redraw these congressional districts. Illinois is poised
He'd
to
be a
lose
one-termer.
one seat.
Yeah, he'll be a one-termer.
And it'll be very curious to know whose seat they cut out, and whose seat, do they help protect. Quite candidly, I don't like how politicians get to kind of draw their own districts to pick their own voters. Voters should pick the politician, not the other way around. But that's the process we live under. But I know if I'm Lauren Underwood, I would want a district that's a little bit more friendly to my politics.
Yeah, well, that's the same way.
A bit more democratic.
I think a friendly district is the what's it, the 11th or the 6th you got there in Aurora?
That's the one I live in, the 11th. And that'll be the interesting conversation.
That's pretty friendly to Foster.
Oh, yeah. So, quite frankly, Aurora has been cut out of the 14th. It was going into the 11th. And Aurora is a very strong Democratic city.
Right. That's how they did that.
That's not part of Lauren's district. Most of Aurora is not in her district. I'm sure she would love to have Aurora in her district, but that would mean Foster would have to give up Aurora.
I know. So we'll see what happens on that one. But I was looking at that. I was thinking
next year.
Every county right now, like I said, the collar counties are going blue. I just noticed Rockford didn't go blue, and McHenry, but they could draw something up that. But like I said, if Oberweis wins, they'll probably draw him out. I don't know. That's the thing about gerrymandering. That's why the Democrats didn't win as many they didn't win any, I guess, state houses or turn them. So they might have a tough time on that one.
Yeah, that's the other conversation that's now being held around the state. Is why the Democratic Party did not do well in some of their legislative races.
Right.
Also with the fair tax.
The fair tax is probably the bigger question. Underwood's the only one that is in danger of losing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Democrats won everywhere else. So
every other Democrat in Congress has a safe Democratic seat.
Yeah, and I don't know about the state races too much. I haven't, but
there were no statewide races other than Dick Durbin for re-election, and he had a pretty
he had that
uncontested. He didn't have a serious challenger.
No, it wasn't quite uncontested, but I hear what you're saying. Let's go on.
I'm giving my political opinion.
I got your point. It was uncontested in the political sense. Yes, it was.
Right. Willie Wilson is an average
Willie
man.
Wilson. I don't know why Willie just wants to run, I think. He's a good guy, but he wants to keep running. I don't understand this. He's got the money, too. I guess he just says, I'll run.
When you have the money, that's kind of how you can continue to do that.
He's been very generous to Aurora and the church community and with his masks and works there. So the poor guy, and then he got the virus himself.
Yeah, I know. We keep him in our prayers. He also supported me when I ran for the legislature earlier this year, and I appreciate that. But I would say about the fair tax and about kind of the state of our state party.
Yeah.
The only thing in more disarray than the Democratic Party of Illinois is the Republican Party of Illinois. And because of that, the Democrats can kind of fight among themselves and fight with each other. Many of us on the left have been critics of the current leadership of our party for many years when it was unpopular to do so. And we've paid political prices for that. I believe in the type of leadership that is not loyal to a party, but is committed to serving the people, regardless of party. But that's gotten me in trouble a few cycles. And so I am glad to see that others are finally coming around to agree with me. But as I have often said, courage is what you do when it's difficult, not when it's convenient. It's becoming more and more convenient to be a critic of the speaker and our state chairman.
Oh, I understand what you're saying totally that way.
But those powers that be will continue to flesh that out. I saw a statement from Speaker Madigan that he's not going anywhere. But he has to realize that there is a community of people in our state, and many of them are friends and colleagues of mine that I've had very candid conversations with. They don't trust Springfield. They weren't willing to give their tax dollars, any more tax dollars, to those who they believe, rightly or wrongly, caused this financial crisis in our state.
Yeah.
And until they see a significant change in leadership, that is going to continue to be a problem for our state party.
Well,
and so I would urge the speaker, and I say this, and this is what gets lost in this conversation. Mike Madigan is a brilliant political tactician. He's been a brilliant political leader over his career, his decades of service.
Decades.
A book should be written about him.
No.
Anyone who wants to study leadership, particularly organizational or political leadership, ought to sit and learn from him. But I believe that there's a window of time where you are effective. There's also a time to move on. In the Bible, we call it there's a season for everything, right? And so
Ecclesiastics get quoted quite a bit.
I sincerely believe that to move our state forward, his season has passed. And that's not because he's a bad person. He's no one that I would want to disparage. Obviously, there are some questions of how he's handled some relationships with ComEd and other entities. But I would never question his effectiveness. But I do question if he continues to be the type of leader we need to demonstrate confidence with the people of Illinois. And I think the voters spoke loud and clear that they just don't have any confidence in the leadership that we currently have in Springfield.
Well, one thing I do think there were so many commercials on CNN with the same lady telling about her taxes. I think the response on the other side was not too great because actually the taxes can go up, and they'll just go up for everybody. And I don't think they stressed that enough. Pritzker and his people, they didn't do a good campaign on that. They should have said, yeah, your taxes are probably going to have to go up now.
Right. I also should have mentioned as a caveat to this point, we also lost a Supreme Court justice.
Right.
That they tied to the speaker.
Right.
I've known Justice Kilbright most of my career. He's an honorable and decent man. He's a fair-minded jurist. It was sad that they were able to link him to Mike Madigan, and he did not get retained on the Supreme Court.
Oh, that. Okay, I didn't follow that too much on that. Yeah, I've heard about that.
So again, I know exactly what it's like to be on the other end of Mike Madigan's love, lack of love, if you will. He spent $350,000 in my primary to defeat me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I ran too, one about in '88, but he didn't throw any money. He just didn't give me any money. But they
funded my opponent with $350,000 plus from the state party and special interest groups that are linked to.
How much money was that? I didn't hear that well there.
$350,000.
Wow, that's a good chunk of change.
And that's for a state rep seat.
I know. That's a good chunk of change.
Less than 10,000 people voted in my district.
I know. Yeah. Hey, I think I got 10,000 votes in my back then.
Right.
Got a third of the vote.
That's a lot of money for a state rep seat.
And it is. That is. Wow. But yeah.
But Mike Madigan is sitting on over $11 million in one of his campaign funds.
Oh, really? Well, yeah.
Right.
So Illinois went for Biden.
Yep.
And most of the state held. It didn't. like we're just talking about the Underwood, maybe she'll come through. That means the Democrats held pretty much overall and maybe gained some. In the collar counties, we did gain some. And you're right about your people of color, too. We got to think about that. And now Trump, now this afternoon, I thought something interesting. Juan, you as a lawyer would get into this too. Why he's fired the Secretary of Defense.
Yes.
And then I didn't hear much on this. I'll be honest with you. They just threw it on the screen. I haven't heard any talk about it, but they say he's going to do more. He's going to do rallies again, Trump. And I go,
I heard that yesterday.
Is he trying to incite? I think he's trying to incite people, and he's going, this is just my conspiracy theory or whatever you want to call it, that he's going to use the military to quell rebellion and then say that he should still be president. I think he's not giving up. I just don't see that. What do you think about that? You think he's going to give up, or I just don't see that in his DNA.
Well, candidly, my friend, it is dangerous what he's doing.
I know. That's what I'm worried about here.
It is dangerous to fuel the flames of division and undermine what's at the heart of our democracy, and that is the peaceful transition of power. I would urge, and I believe you can probably Google this. I saw this on the news last week. They played a clip, I think it was on MSNBC. They played a clip of every concession speech.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I think I saw
Richard Nixon in 1960 when he lost to John Kennedy.
Right.
To Hillary Clinton from 2016.
Right.
And they had maybe 5 or 10 second clip from each one.
Right, right.
And it was just so powerful, but so profound.
Right.
And so gracious.
Right.
How each of them, and some were all were painful. Anyone who's put their name on a ballot to ask the public for the vote of confidence to serve them, and the voters say no, you feel rejected. You feel defeated. You are lost an election. Donald Trump, we're not surprised by any of this, but it just reinforces the tragedy of his lack of leadership, his lack of being a decent human being, and his lack of being presidential. It's a shame. It's embarrassing. If it wasn't Donald Trump, I would say he should be ashamed of himself. But he's done so many things that he should be ashamed of. This won't matter to him. Right. But this is dangerous. And here's why. Under federal law, there is a law that triggers the transition from one administration to another.
Right.
There are briefing memos and briefing schedules, sensitive information, classified documents, that need to be transferred from one administration to another.
Right.
Some of that information has to be given before January 20th.
Right.
And Trump is going to either not allow that or slow that down.
He's going to wait till the Electoral College at least.
Right. And that is hurtful to the nation and to the fabric of our democracy. So I am disappointed, but I'm not surprised. I'm hoping these frivolous lawsuits that he's been filing will all be struck down by the appropriate courts.
I haven't really heard much what they are at all. They're just so frivolous; they're not even getting on the news.
Well, John, here's the inside scoop. He's filing lawsuits claiming that the voters of the election in Pennsylvania was fraudulent.
Right.
The Pennsylvania Republican Party won't even stand by that.
Right. No. So it's.
But here's the real point I'm trying to make. There's at least two. I believe there's 2 statewide races in Pennsylvania for state treasurer and another office where the Republican candidate won the election. last week.
I know. So how can they steal one part?
Right.
That's pretty hard to do on these ballots. So how do you just?
Here's what I'm saying to my Democratic friends.
Yeah.
Hey, Democrats, if you committed fraud last week,
did a bad job.
A very good job.
Right. They should
have made sure Jamie Harris won in South Carolina.
Yeah, they should have thrown in some more races too. They should have thrown in a few more races, not just Trump. Why do we just have to pick on Trump? You know?
Right. If you're gonna cheat, don't hold back. Take it all.
That's right. They cheat big. Yeah. Oh, they got something about dead people too. I go, well, I don't know where they're coming from. My thought is that they just want to delay the whole thing and then throw it to the House of Representatives and get more mucky here.
Look, as I've said many times before, while many of us on the left play checkers, the right plays chess. They were planning this years ago.
It was.
Years ago. The Republican legislature in Pennsylvania passed a law that would not allow the votes that were mailed in counted until after the polls closed on Tuesday. They did that intentionally to create time where Trump and his minions could cause confusion and raise objections. I compare that to Illinois. In Illinois, our early votes are counted and our mail-in votes are counted before the election.
No, I don't know about that one.
What?
I don't know about that one.
Well, here's what I mean when I say count. They dump the vote. They
dump. They are counted at the same night. I don't think they're delayed though.
Same night. Right.
Yeah, they're not delayed though.
Right. I meant the same night. I guess they those numbers immediately. So
yeah, right. I guess they ran it through enough to go. So I think that's probably right. Yeah.
So on election night, actually, I even have the numbers here. I was looking at them earlier.
Oh, they got that pretty good. It was about 11 o'clock or 10, 12. They got the whole numbers done for King County.
At 7:07, Tuesday night, I'm reading it right here. I brought it. At 7:07, the polls had been closed for 7 minutes in Illinois.
Right.
And 101,639 were the vote counts, 58% for Joe Biden in Kane County. Those were the early voters, the early votes.
Right.
That come in.
Oh, they had that right away. Then it was about a few hours before they had the whole thing.
Illinois prepares that data to be released as soon as the polls close.
Yeah, no, they had that out. I remember that. And
Pennsylvania does just the opposite.
Yeah, well, these other states. That's one thing some people say should change. Your lawyer people and the rest can make more consistent national laws on this.
Well, yeah.
Maybe the federal government should step in on this.
I think we need to nationalize our federal elections. Allow states to control their state and local elections. But on a national level, every 4 years when we elect the president, the rules in Illinois should be the rules in Pennsylvania, should be the rules in Maine, should be the rules.
Right. There should be some consistency here.
Right. And then I would also maybe, I haven't thought this through, but other federal elections like U.S. Senate, congressional races, there should be some consistency there as well.
Right.
So maybe we have a national process for all federal elections.
I think I saw that in the paper. I forgot what, I just been reading so much, but there was somebody that wrote on this topic and said we should standardize a lot of these things, times, everything.
We should.
And Juan, let's go off. Time's flying here. Geez, time's going so fast here. I want to discuss about your influence or knowledge of Georgia. What do you think about Georgia there? Juan was in Georgia many years at Morehouse College. So you told me earlier that you know the one candidate. Why don't you just give us a little background on Georgia and what you think about Georgia right now?
Well, so to be transparent and candid, I was in Georgia from 1988 to 1992. So that was a lifetime ago. I was there when they were awarded the Olympics, and remember that announcement when I was a student down at Morehouse College. One of my heroes and mentors, was the first black mayor of Atlanta, Maynard Jackson, who for me is kind of the symbol of what a political leader ought to emulate and try to carry forth. And I won't get into his background today, but so I have fond memories of Atlanta. Atlanta's changed a lot since I was a student there. 10 years after I left, my sister was a student at Spelman College at my sister's school. And so I saw how different Atlanta was just in the 10 years between my matriculation and her matriculation. And then now, because she finished Spelman in 2003, that's almost 20 years ago. So I've seen the growth of Atlanta. Atlanta is a tremendous city, great culture, wonderful history, obviously tied to the civil rights movement of Martin Luther King Jr., Andrew Young, Hosea Williams, and so many others that I could name. But the current politics of Georgia has to be, is changing in large part because of the work of my Spelman sister, Stacey Abrams. I've had a chance to know her over the years and supported her when she ran for governor. She's doing tremendous work with the Fair Fight Initiative down there. And she's really done a tremendous job of helping to transform and make Georgia blue, if you will, or bluer, or not as red, if you will. With that being said, it's going to be an exciting and difficult time to get those 2 Senate seats in Democratic hands. Yeah. I say exciting because those of us who want to see the Democrats pick up those 2 seats need to do everything we can to help get them elected. But let's not be fooled. Atlanta is not Georgia. And Georgia, when you step out of the Atlanta area and the metropolitan Atlanta area, those collar counties like Cobb County, Gwinnett County, DeKalb County, it is a different community. And it's going to be very, very difficult. And I would just say, if you don't believe me, just look at the numbers. Even though Senator Perdue is below 50%, right, he was still ahead of John Ossoff. He's still beating him just, by popular vote. Right. If you add up the 2 numbers of the Senator Leifler, I believe her name is, and Doug Collins, who got third. Oh, no, you're right. No, they get more than Warnock then. They get more than Warnock. Right. And so there's a strong Republican base out there, right, in Georgia. And so here is the challenge. We have to treat this like a presidential election. We've got to pretend Biden is on the ballot because in a real sense, Biden is on the ballot on January 5th. Mm-hmm. President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris's agenda is on the ballot. If we want a Senate that's going to move their agenda, we have to get those 2 seats. Right. It's critical. And so I urge all my friends in Georgia, family, if you have friends or family in Georgia, please get them out to vote. If you can go down there to volunteer, do that. If you can write a check, do that. Post on social media. But we need all hands on deck. If we're going to keep Georgia blue. Right. Biden, looks like Biden has won Georgia this time. Yeah. Biden has got to win Georgia on January 5th. Yeah, there's going to be a massive movement from Republicans and the Democrats to Georgia. This is going to be the Senate, because it's right now, it'll be 50-48. And if they get these 2 seats, it'll be a tie. And then the Senate would go to the presiding officer, which will be Kamala Harris, and that would be the deciding. So the Democrats could control the Senate if they get these 2 seats. Now they got to get both. But so here's what that means. COVID-19 relief is on the ballot on January 5th.
Well, I agree. All these things, right.
Voting rights, the Restoring the Voting Rights Act is on the ballot. Obamacare is on the ballot. If you want President Biden to be successful, he needs a Congress that will pass his agenda. I think Mitch McConnell has taught us, has shown us who he is. We ought to believe him.
Right. Well, I thank you, Juan. We've had a good discussion. We'll have more discussions here down the road. I'd like to discuss another topic for another day about the white evangelicals in this vote. We'll talk about that some other day, but that's another topic we should be discussing. And probably why Trump got 70 million votes or 71 million. We'll have to discuss that one too. There's more out there on this election. What one?
We live in a divided nation.
Right. And then the other topic would be, how do we pull ourselves together here? One guest I've had on, and I think Juan, I don't know if you know this gentleman, but I think you should, Vincent Bacot of Wheaton College. He had a good thought on that the other day at Wheaton College Chapel, right the day after the election. And how are we going to get this together? That's another question. It's tough too. We got some tough things ahead of us here.
Yes, we do.
In this country. And I pray that what I just said earlier about Donald Trump and those rallies and all that, I hope that doesn't happen. And I just pray that he just says it's done and moves on. But we'll see. We'll just have to pray that. Well, anyway, so we got, we'll have something on Wednesday, hopefully. I'll bring in a guest. That's another story. We lost Juan, and sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We lost Juan. I thank Juan for being with us, though. And the thing just acted crazy there. Remember the VNA this week, flu shots, COVID-19 testing, VNA. We got to get this virus down. We had a lot of cases in Illinois. Look at XPian.news for more on that. So we'll see you on Wednesday at 5 p.m. And again, I want to thank Juan for coming by. Sorry we lost the connection there. That was my fault. We had some technical problem here. And so we'll see you on Wednesday at 5. And so all I can say right now is God bless out there, everybody. And bye-bye. Bye-bye.